So this is the default sound of retro. First thing, the 303 can only do one waveform at a time. So I'm just going to put the mix slider to oscillator 1. And again, on the 303, it only had two waveforms that it could generate, either a sawtooth or the square. I'm going to use the sawtooth. The other thing that in Retro's default settings that it has is, if we go to the settings, it currently stacks two voices together, and you can sort of hear that. There's a chorusing effect. I'm going to turn that off. So there's this settings panel down here. If you hadn't seen it before, it's kind of like a bunch of little controls extra. Let's turn that off. No more chorusing, because before it was stacking two sounds together to get it like a thicker sound. I'm also going to, in the voices, because the 101, the 303 could only play one note at a time, I'm going to set it into legato. The reason it's legato, not mono, is that when I press a key and then keep that held and press another key, it jumps up without re-triggering the envelope. It's a smooth sound. That'll be more apparent when we add a bit of filtering. So this is all good now. I can close it. I'm going to bring the filter envelope down and have it quite short, and bring up the resonance, maybe halfway, and the cutoff is around about halfway as well. And you can really hear it sort of squelch now. Without any envelope setting, it doesn't. We don't get that cutoff movement. Have a listen to that squelch, and when I glide between notes, it doesn't re-trigger the squelch sound. So that's the difference. That's what the legato function does. If I set it to mono, we get it re-triggers the envelope shape. So I'm going to use the legato setting, and I'm also going to turn glide on. Turn it up a little bit, because when I slur between the notes, I want it to go. I want there to be a slide or a glide. And that's kind of the classic sound of that 303. Would have these little glide settings between the notes. Or slide, they called it, I think. That's kind of the pure tone of the 303. Of course, then we can modulate the cutoff. It's not much fun trying to do it with a mouse. What we can do in the settings panel is use the mod wheel to affect the cutoff. So if we turn that up and play around with the mod wheel on the keyboard, it's giving us vibrato though. I don't want that. So I'm going to turn off the vibrato. Maybe bring the cutoff down now. Much nicer to play that with the kind of the mod wheel than trying to wiggle the mouse around. The final, if you mind turning that off, just doing the final thing to do might be to add a bit of distortion. There's loads of different flavours. There's the pedal board, or in distortion, there's kind of a more standard one here. Let's turn the volume down a little bit, turn the tone up. If I use level compensation, that's quite useful little function. It means as we turn up the drive, it doesn't get louder. Well, not as much as it would anyway before. You can hear it's a bit more fuzzy and sharp sounding. And of course at high resonance settings, it's when you get it to really sort of squeal. So that was the kind of typical like 303 sounds that we can get out of the retro synth.